All right, welcome to episode 31 of our Preaching Young podcast. I'm Abram, pastor here at Trinity Southern Baptist Church.
I'm Brittany Fornash, the youth leader and administrative assistant.
And I'm Andrew Baker, youth leader and worship leader here.
And this is a podcast all about our experience at leading a church at a young age, so that I can look back when I'm 60 and get some advice from the young Abram. All right? If I survive that long, somebody might kill me before then. All right, her name might be Brittany.
It might be Brittany. I was getting ready to say.
I would never kill anybody.
Yeah, she might.
Well,
you don't know what happens behind the scenes here at Preaching Young people.
Well, and I'm so glad that we are able to have this podcast today with Brittany, because I thought Brittany was going to bail on us for the third time this year.
She has bailed quite a bit on us. Let me just say this before she gets to speak. Every podcast episode that she has not been on was by her choice.
And our numbers were a little higher.
Yep, we always saw an increase. So.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if there's anything.
Denominator here,
I don't know. But I'm excited. How are you guys doing? It's a crazy week. What are y'all thoughts?
Well, today's Friday. Hopefully, by the time that they hear this podcast, we'll know. We'll have maybe an answer. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows?
About who our next president is.
It's been a long.
How's your week going other than that?
Well, it's just.
I think that just adds a whole another level of like. Not stress. It's not stress because I kind of just have a peace about
exhaustion.
it now. But yeah, it's like, oh my goodness, when are we gonna know? Like exhaustion.
But this is 2020 summed up in a week. Like,
yeah.
If you want to put 2020 in a week, this is it. Like, this explains our 2020. I feel like what's that show, The Stranger Things?
Never seen it.
Never watched it.
Okay.
Let's do an easy analogy.
I have to. They have a place called the Upside Down World. I'm not recommending this movie or the show, but they have a place called the Upside Down World where everything's backwards, pretty much. Everything's upside down.
Upside down world.
And I feel like that's kind of where we're at right now. Everything's upside down, everything's going backwards, everything's going nuts. And
it's an interesting week, for sure.
It's been an interesting
week. To put it at the least.
What's the craziest thing about it is a couple things. One, I did not realize how many people make sure that their lives were dependent on the president.
Yeah.
I mean, like, people are like, and we saw this in 2016 too. We saw this in 2016 when Trump won. We saw a lot of those, like, people were screaming to the sky. You ever seen those memes?
Yes.
They're screaming to the skies and they're crying and stuff. And I'm thinking, like, this is your hope, is the presidency?
Fun fact, I was in college during the election last time when Trump won, and my professor actually canceled classes for 2 weeks because she was just so upset.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So it blows my mind that even in 2020 we're still that dependent on who the president is.
Which is crazy because here in 2018, right in the middle of the election of his term, I feel like it was just like people were just whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they're not all worked up about who's president. They're not.
But that'll happen with this as well.
I was gonna say, and just wait a year, wait 2 years,
give it a year or two,
maybe even a couple months,
and
everything's gonna be okay.
And it is what it is.
It always heightens.
But my thing is, as Christians, this is not the thing that we're worried about. And for all you end time people, like, read the Bible about the end times. Nowhere in there does it say the 2020 election is the end times. Like, we're living in the last days from Jesus' crucifixion until his return.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, though, like, it doesn't say, like, all right, when the 2020 election comes, then it ends. It all
game over.
And none of us are supposed to know the time. So
that's the biggest thing that gets me. Every time I hear someone say that about the end times,
everybody tries to predict it.
I can't. Literally, the Bible couldn't be more clear in saying that nobody will know.
It's gonna come like a thief in the night.
A thief in the night. How many times do you ever see a thief coming in the night? You don't.
When you least expect it to be the end times,
why do we try to predict
it's gonna be the end.
So why do we try to predict it?
I don't know. So I just think it's crazy. I will say though that the election has opened up my eyes to how closely divided our country. I mean, it's pretty much half and half.
Yeah.
Half the country wants to go one way, the other half wants to go the other way.
And they both feel very strongly about.
Nobody. It's not a full leaning one way or the other.
No.
We are right in the middle.
Very split.
Of a split country, and it's very interesting to see. I think everyone should do better. All three parties, even the third party, should do better with candidates. We have to do better with candidates. I will say, the way that Trump was treated by everybody for the last 4 years, who would want to run?
Yeah.
Or even with Joe Biden, the way Joe Biden's even been treated with all his dementia problems, who would want to run?
Who would want to run for president?
My word, you have to get thrown to the gallows. Is that what they call it?
I don't think that's the right word.
Well, anyway, I think it's interesting. I will say this, though. You guys had a good Wednesday night with our youth.
yes.
How are they feeling as far as the society is concerned?
Well, I think the whole thing, even through the whole pandemic and everything, what everybody's needed, not just youth, but church members included, just regular church members, they need consistency. And I think that's one thing that we've really hit on over the past few months is consistency, having stuff for people to come to. And this past Wednesday, we actually started worship with our youth, and we also hit our highest attendance ever.
That's awesome.
Which, I mean,
during a pandemic,
amazing. Yeah.
oh no, you can't grow a youth group in the pandemic. It's not safe. Nobody will come.
Yeah.
They won't show up.
Sorry, it happened.
They don't want to come to church.
It's getting dark out and they're not going to be able to play outside. They're not going to come. Nope.
Wrong.
Yeah, listen, we've done this for a few years now.
Yes. This is our first go around.
Yeah, we know for a fact that kids, you're exactly right, they want consistency. They want a place where they can get away from the world, and that's big.
Yep.
I think everybody wants a little time, just a little glimpse of getting away from what's going on outside the world. Church is the greatest place to do that, unless your church is talking about it all the time.
Yes.
We'll talk about the world all the time, which some churches are.
That is true. Very, very true.
Because some churches, some pastors are really upset about what's going on. But
and every single Sunday, Wednesday, and every other day you meet in church, all they're talking about is
how terrible you are for doing whatever you're doing. But it just blows my mind. I think that it's great that the youth is growing, the church is growing. It blows my mind because this week I heard that there are people that still think that what's happening at Trinity is a honeymoon phase. They still think that what's happening at Trinity is a fluke. It's just a season that we're in that's going to disappear at some point. And they try to point at different places where we're. I'll say this. We're a church full of imperfect people. Okay, so I already know that it's not going to be perfection in anything, in any case, whether it's on social media, whether it's in person, whether it's whatever the case is.
You name it.
There are people, and we're dealing with people, and not everybody agrees with everybody on different things that are happening in the world, and they shouldn't. I would hate a church that everyone agreed with everything 100% of the makes That would bore me.
So it makes people. That's what makes people people. That's what makes life the way it is.
We're an imperfect church for imperfect people. That's why we allow people to come in.
Right.
Because we're like, you're all of us. And it blows my mind because some people will leave the church and they'll say, this person offended me or this thing upset me or something you said was disappointing. And so they leave the church and they go to another church as if that's going to, be like a better option. We're all flawed. Every church I know is flawed with flawed people. That's what makes a church so wonderful. And I just think it's very interesting that people are still thinking that A, we're in a honeymoon phase, B, that everything's going to crash around us. I'm telling you, it's insane. We're almost about the 2 years here at the church. Okay,
this December, right?
35 baptisms.
January?
Yeah, 35 baptisms. Growth even during the pandemic, we're hitting huge numbers. It blows my mind. It blows my mind that we're dealing with this kind of stuff. And it blows my mind that I have to hear it from other Christians. Just be proud of what's happening at our church. You pray for us, we'll pray for you. And
I think for so many years it was a battle of, I feel like it was just a battle of who could have the most people, who could have the most this, who could do the most of this.
But it was a battle for the people. And
it was a battle because it was certain people. They weren't going out for everybody. Yeah. There's 15,000 people in Pinellas County. They weren't broadening the horizon to 15,000 people. They were focused on 100, 200, 300 people.
But even in Falmouth, there's 2,000.
Yeah.
That you have an opportunity to witness to.
There's plenty of people.
But everyone was just fighting for a couple hundred people, the same couple hundred people.
Yeah, they were fighting for church members.
Come to this church, go to that church, come to this church, come to our church, and I don't know, it's easy. I guess it's easy to do that. It's easy to sit there and look at other churches and try to get their members. It's easy because they're already a Christian, there's no work involved, but it's a whole different ballgame when you can sit there and go out to people that are lost that need a Savior. Whole different ballgame.
Which I do think, honestly, over the past few years, I've seen this whole shift in churches where like you guys hear like the come as you are type of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like there has been a big push from churches because they weren't doing it for so long. And they realized, oh, well, if we just focus on people who are Christians, then we're not going to get anywhere. That's not what we're
Eventually
here
Christians
to do.
will die, those Christians will die out.
Yep. Yeah.
And you ain't got nobody at your church.
Yeah.
My biggest issue though, because I do see that come as you are mentality, where they mess up is they leave it at that.
Yeah.
You got to come as you are, but then you got to change.
Yeah.
Right? You got to give your life over to Christ, and then there's got to be a change.
Distinct change.
The change part is where we miss.
We stop.
Yeah.
We stop before the
But
change
come as
part.
you are. You're divorced. You're an alcoholic. You're into drugs. Come as you are. Come as you are. Come as you are.
Yeah.
We see this with a lot of drug churches, right? Those churches that really focus on drug addicts. They're really big on come as you are. And then what happens is, these pastors they're getting into drugs themselves, and it just becomes a mess. I pray for those kind of churches all the time because it's a important ministry, but it's also a very tempting ministry because you're around people that are dealing with those really big temptations constantly. So there's that.
Little drum roll there?
I don't know. I just feel like it's just where we're at in the society is I think this is a turning point.
I think so.
I think it's a turning point. And unfortunately, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
But I think it has to.
It has. Oh, well,
because
that's
the way that we were going, the way the churches were going, the way that people were going, I don't think was a good way to go. So I think we almost have to back up and redo it.
And I said this in March. I think God was trying to open the eyes of the church,
Yeah.
and I think that it didn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, the virus itself, lockdown, because at the time, if you even listen to some of our early podcasts,
People are benefiting from it.
1, 2, 3, 4. That's what we were saying.
Yeah.
People are benefiting from recognizing that sports aren't the most important thing.
Yeah.
Going to a concert, going
Yes.
to whatever,
Yes.
hanging out with all these other people wasn't life. What life was,
Yes.
was for.
That's what we pushed for. We were like, look, this is a great opportunity.
And for a while, I think that was
It's
true. I
priority.
think that was true.
It still is true. What the issue is, people, I don't know when this happened, but people go, no, my kids have to have sports. It went the opposite way.
Went very back. It went backwards.
Yeah, they're like, we have to have
backtracked.
sports, and we have to be able to go to restaurants, and we have to, and then the church itself, which at the beginning I thought it was great because we were seeing great numbers on Facebook Live, and then all of a sudden now people are going, all right, well, it's not that big of a deal to be online, so I just won't go online.
I won't call it personal.
And the thing that we're struggling with the most with online is it's hard to keep track of who's watching and who's not.
Yeah.
And so people are saying, hey, we're watching online, but there's no way to know that.
Yeah.
Unless you ask them questions and they don't give you an answer, which is hilarious. But,
Put them on the spot for your sermon.
yeah. Oh, really? You enjoyed my sermon Sunday? What was it about? So there's that kind of stuff.
We do that to Brittany every Sunday. She can't tell us.
And she hears it twice.
Nice. What is it? Rose Brittany Day?
Maybe. Every podcast is Roast Brittany, I feel like.
It's easy.
That was our second name. We were battling between two names, Preaching Young and Roast Brittany,
Yeah.
and then Preaching Young won, obviously.
I'm just going to be quiet. I want to be the peacemaker.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Here's my next question. In my head, I feel like 2021 is a huge year for us as a church. Okay? I'm talking growth, I'm talking outreach, I'm talking pouring money into the community.
Yeah.
I just heard on the radio today, people think it's going to be a terrible year. 2021 is going to be a really bad year.
No, I think if 2021 is anything like the end of like how this year is coming to an end, as far as like church growth and things like that goes, I think we're set up very good for 2021.
No, I'm excited for 2021.
Because if anything, 2021 is going to cause more people, if the world thinks that, right, 2021 is going to cause more people to be in that mindset, and that's where the church can step up even more.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Thank you.
This is where we have to recognize.
When the world says that the world's crashing down, right, when people say the world's crashing down around us, and that the world's going to end, and that people are awful, and that the world's so divided, that should be like a kid sitting in front of a candy bowl saying, I cannot wait. This is going to be great as a church. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Because this is where we should be thriving.
Yep.
Right? We have the answer to calmness. We have the answer to peace. We have the answer to joy. We have the answer. The world cannot give us that. especially right now, the world cannot give us. This is why I'm excited about Sunday, because I feel like Sunday we're going to have a really packed house because of this crazy week. I think people are going to come to church because they're like, I just need something that is uplifting.
Yeah.
Period.
And here's the thing, if we go this way.
Go ahead.
I feel like when some churches expect that, I feel like some churches under-deliver on a Sunday. When they expect people to show up at church, right, they do something out of the ordinary that they're like, oh my gosh, we're going to have a whole bunch of people.
We're going to have a bunch of people, let's
do this.
Do an event.
Let me do an announcement real fast or something that doesn't need to happen, or you know what I'm saying?
Here's something I've been noticing a lot lately is surprises. I've seen a lot of churches who are trying to do surprises.
Yeah.
They want a surprise, like come this Sunday for a surprise. I never understood that at all.
And usually it's not even that big of a surprise, and it lets you down, and you're like, oh, okay.
Or not a surprise at all. It's just something you already knew.
Yeah, that's well, that's true too. My thing is like, I don't want people to guess what's happening on Sunday. I want people to be looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of a weird situation. The other thing that I'm seeing a lot of is I have a feeling that people are starting very slowly. This is probably going to be a very slow process. But I feel like people are finally starting to see a slow process of actually getting called people into the church. Mm-hmm. Slow, but little bit by little bit, I keep seeing called people getting to church, and that is huge. Yeah. That is so big because there's a difference between being called and being taught. And there's a lot of people that have been taught how to go to church and taught what it means to be a preacher, but to be called and actually have that life experience, it is night and day. Night and day.
And you'll see it once it happens.
100%.
You'll be able to see it. Once you can tell the difference between a person who's called into a position. It doesn't just have to be a pastor. But once you see the difference between someone called into something and someone who's just been taught how to do it and just done it for so long, you'll see a difference.
And I think it's more encouraging to a congregation when they sit there and go, you know, I can do it too. Right? That guy didn't have to have anything special to preach. I can do it too. I can go out and I can witness and share my faith. You know, I can share the experiences that I've dealt with. And how the Bible got me through, or how God got me through, especially during this time.
That's all the preaching is.
Now, I think it's an interesting thing because we see a lot of people that are claiming that God's on the throne during this pandemic, or during this election. During this election, God's on the throne. God's taking care of everything. You know, His will be done. Praying for this election, praying for a certain president even to win. Yeah. But then on the very next post, they're like, this is the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
This is going to be the worst election.
Worst election.
The world's going to end.
The world's going to end. So how in the world are we balancing the two? How are people balancing that?
I don't know. I honestly, this week has given me a huge opportunity to witness to the people that's around me. Because with it there being so much uncertainty in the world, and people are so upset about who's going to be president, I want this guy, you want this guy, that type of stuff, all the bickering back and forth. I've had the opportunity to talk to my friends about it who are stressed and just remind them, like, hey, like you say you're a Christian, then it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It does not matter who wins. It doesn't matter. We have the victory. Everybody says that's cliche, but we do. We have the victory already. We don't have to worry about Donald Trump, or we don't have to worry about Joe Biden.
And that doesn't mean that there's not going to be persecution of the church. No. That doesn't mean the church isn't going to get attacked because there are policies that are going to be put in place that will affect the church in a negative way.
But we have to stand firm.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We've said it before as far as like, you know, God's not surprised by what happens in the world, but God's not surprised what happens by the end of this election either.
Oh, 100%.
So whatever takes place after this election, you better believe God already knows.
And I would even venture to say that there is a purpose for it all, right?
Oh yes.
I was telling them that, like, so when I talk to leaders, and Michael, I think it was Michael B. Jordan, I think his name is. Yeah. He's a comedian, but I saw a segment of him where he talked about the what and the why, right? What and the why.
This was a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
I watched this, yeah.
This is a really good thing if you ever gone, you know, if you're looking on YouTube, Michael B. Jordan, what, why. He does a big segment about the difference between your what, knowing your what and knowing your why you're doing something, right? What is it you're trying to do? That's one thing. When you understand why you're trying to do it, it's a whole different ballgame, and you start to walk into your purpose a little more. Anyway, whenever I do a leadership thing, that's something I really push is the what and the why. What are you trying to do? Why are you trying to do it? Those are important. But when it comes to God, we shouldn't be sitting there asking God why, right? Because this is what we get caught up in all the time. Why, God, are you allowing this to happen? Why, God, is this going on in my life? Why, God? Why, God? Why? But the question isn't why. It's actually what.
It's what. What are you doing?
What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do for me? What are you trying to reveal for me? What do you want me to get out of this?
And a lot of times, which I'm going to tie it back, I just saw a video this week, which you've probably seen this video before. But it's a video of Billy Graham, and he's talking about Habakkuk. Habakkuk? I don't know how to pronounce that properly. Yeah. Anyway, he's saying God was telling him, he said, if I were to tell you what I'm doing right now, you wouldn't believe what I was doing. Which I think is what a lot of times happens in the church. Yeah. Like, I feel like that's where we're at right now. Like, God could be saying, this person's going to win the election. You don't even have to worry about it, right? But we don't. Sometimes we ask the why question. Yeah. Like, why is this happening? What is this? God already knows what he's doing, and we don't believe it. We don't believe he's already got it all taken care of.
I've always said this too. There's so many puzzle pieces. If you're gonna, in order for things to happen in this life, there's a lot of pieces that have to be moved in order for that to happen. When I was getting ready to go to Sunshine, that Sunshine position, okay, I'm plugging them out, my goodness.
Sure. But I don't think they listen.
Listen, this is it's a family-owned business with family employees for years.
Still is.
And I never would have got that job if one of the family members just happened to retire at exactly when I quit my job.
I was looking for one.
And they were in such a desperate need to find somebody because they wanted to send somebody up to Cleveland, which nobody would ever do, except for us because we're stupid.
It's a great job. I'm telling you, it's really fun.
But my point is, it just they very rarely hire somebody that's not family, and it was just literally just happened the way it happened. That I was able to get in there. I was able to do ministry because of it. We were able to get you that job after I left.
Walked right into it.
And again, you were able to do ministry without any hesitation because of it. But that is the same thing with even being the pastor of this church. I had no idea when I left our last church what God had in store. I thought I was just going to be preaching at different churches for years, just filling in for people.
Ended up being
and then just out of nowhere, Trinity gets rid of their pastor. And they needed me to fill in for a month, and then it just kind of worked out that way. But look at all the pieces that God had to put in place. God had to destroy this church, destroy the church, in order for the church to say, well, why not just try Abram? I mean, that's all they did. It wasn't like I had no experience. They had nothing to base. They had nothing to base it off of. They didn't sit there and go, well, Abram was a great pastor. We should have him. They literally go, what are our other options right now? We don't have any. Let's just try it. What will it hurt? We can't go anywhere but up because they were so down. And so I think about all that stuff, all the puzzle pieces that God had to do, and the years that Trinity had to suffer, in order for them to sit there and go, all right, we're going to take a chance on Abram. That's the kind of stuff that God does all the time. And I have to believe that with the pandemic, with the virus, with everything that's happening in this year, I feel like God is moving a lot of puzzle pieces to wake a lot of people up. And for us, we have to be on the right side of this. We have to be on the right side of this. If we're caught up in worrying about why God's moving the puzzle pieces, we're going to miss when he actually gets it all done.
Right. And being on the right side of this is not referring to being on the right side as far as being a Republican or Democrat either. Being on the right side of this is being fully trusting in God and ready for what God's got ready for us.
Because the people that were at the church that were here when it was struggling, right? They were sitting there praying. They were sitting there, you know what I'm saying? They were spiritually ready. So when we came in, they were ready to rock and roll, right? They were open to change. They were open to new things. They were open to it because of all the suffering that they went through. So just because we're going through suffering right now, or whatever the case is, some people may not even be suffering. Just because we're going through what we're going through right now, I'm telling you, it's going to be a glorious thing when it comes out on the other side. And I truly believe this. I've been saying this for years, but I think a huge revival is coming. And we're at the beginning of it. We're at the very beginning of this revival that's going to sweep our nation. Again, we have to be on the right side of that. Which means we got to start doing revivals.
And we have to start preaching the peace and trust and hope and everything that the world's searching for.
Because the church building is stuck. This church building can't move anywhere. It can't go anywhere. It can't go to other houses. It can't reach lost people because it's stuck. This church building is here permanently. Even if I wanted to move it, I couldn't. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the people inside that church have to be the ones to take the message outside the walls.
Amen.
All right, let's stop right here. We'll come back for our second half of our podcast. I want to talk about a couple different things. I want to talk about Carl Lentz.
Big news today.
Big news today. Also want to bring back John Gray and the things that he did in the past, this year actually,
Talked about that a few weeks ago.
and what the difference is between John Gray and how it was handled at his level and how it's being handled at Carl Lentz's level. I also would like to discuss. Hold on, I'll tell you in about 2 seconds. Oh, I also want to talk about giving the devil too much credit. I also want to talk about sabbaticals.
I'm glad. I cannot wait. You guys are in for a treat this second half. Sit tight. Ready, 3, 2, 1.
All right, we're back with our second part of Preaching on Podcast, episode 31. Y'all said we couldn't. Could you believe that? Every time I say this, people go, "You already said this," but I've only said it a few times. People really couldn't believe we were going to make it to pass.
It's a true
episode
statement.
4, and here we are. Here we are, episode 31.
We really got very, very negative feedback as far as how
You-
far we were going to make
Yeah,
it.
you're only going to do that a couple times. No. You don't understand this about our church. We like simplicity and consistency.
And if you only knew how simple this podcast was.
I like my chocolate chip cookies too. I have this
Can I tell you what I did this morning? Brittany already knows.
I have never, and I've known you, 3 years now, 4 years? I have never tasted a chocolate chip cookie from
That's
Brittany.
because
So don't tell me that,
Wait a
I
minute.
have a great simple recipe.
Brittany doesn't make chocolate chip cookies. That's because Becky's chocolate chip cookies are 10 times better.
Okay, but I'm saying,
I can't argue
it
with
doesn't
that.
matter. Well, she just uses the
Do you want to know how simple?
I don't want to know how simple it
She
is.
just used the Toll House
I
thing.
just know. I just know that they're good
I
cookies.
just buy the Toll House cookies.
She
They're
doesn't-
simple and they're consistent every single time. They taste the same. I don't actually bake them. My brookies are good. I do bake those.
What's a brookie?
Hold on, before you say that, a brookie is the same thing as a brownie. You make the brownies, you cook the brownies, right? Except before you
put
put
the
them in the
Toll
oven,
House,
you put cookie dough on top of it.
smush
So
them.
she acts like she cooked them.
When did you make, you made this before?
I've made
She used to
them
make them in
tons
high
of
school like
times.
every week.
Because I've made them for everybody's birthday.
Everybody loved them. Everybody knew Brittany for a brookie, and then Papa John's went and stole it.
Yeah, I could have been a millionaire.
Could have. Should have,
I
could
should have,
have.
would have.
All right, fine. We'll go this direction.
Wait, can I think about what I did this morning?
Okay, because I want to talk about could have been a millionaire situations.
Okay.
I have a couple. Go ahead.
I should have been a chef because I made the best French toast you've ever had in your life this morning.
I don't like French toast.
Are you kidding me? What's wrong with you? French toast is delicious.
There's some nasty stuff on it.
It was a
What?
solid
It was.
5.
What's wrong with?
What do you put
like
on? What do you put on French toast?
Egg.
syrup?
Syrup, egg, bread.
No, you don't put
Bread.
egg on French toast.
You put-
The
you
batter
dip the-
is egg, vanilla, sugar, flour,
That's where it gets nasty.
cinnamon.
That's where it gets nasty.
Why? What's wrong with all that? It's all good stuff.
Mm.
Then you cook it on the griddle.
I like my toast crunchy, not.
Oh, it's crispy. Definitely crispy.
No, if
Not
you, once
soggy?
you dip, it's soggy.
No,
Yes.
no, you cook it
Cook
and you
it.
cook it
It's
and it
kind of like a
crisps.
grilled cheese almost.
That's not French toast then. You gotta call it something.
What is she? No, it's French toast. When's the last time you had French toast that was soggy?
Every time. I've never not had French toast that wasn't soggy.
You
Who's
had the
making
wrong
your
French toast.
Everybody.
It's supposed to have a nice.
I've never been like at
French
hotels, anywhere. I've never had a French toast that
Ooh,
wasn't
I
soggy.
like
It's supposed to
Even
be a
what's
nice.
I like French toast.
Eggo, Lego, my Eggo, their French toast is soggy that you
Really?
put in the
Because you put it in the
microwave.
microwave.
Or you put in the,
Ew.
Listen,
you
a
put in
French
the microwave,
toast,
you pour
Even
syrup on
microwave.
it.
a French
It's disgusting.
toast does have a slight. The middle of it is slightly not like mushy or gooey, but it's not crispy in the middle. The outside is where you got to get that perfect good crisp.
Food taste test. We're gonna make it for next episode. We're gonna try it live.
We should do that. A new segment.
Serious.
We should.
We're gonna
Baking
bring.
with Brittany.
We need a new segment.
We're gonna do a. See which one tastes better. Anyway, I've never heard that in my life, so good luck.
What? It was good. I had this one.
Have you ever been to Tom and Cheese, the grilled cheese place?
Never, but I actually want to try that. The grilled cheese donut.
No, don't do that. Listen, I got
Sounds
a
wrong with grilled cheese
bacon
sandwich.
grilled cheese sandwich.
Good.
It was the greatest thing ever.
I heard
They just
they
put
have
bacon
good-
inside with it. They cook the bacon, they put the bacon
It's a
inside
pretty
the grilled
genius
cheese.
idea. I've had a grilled cheese and ham before.
Here's the
Ham-
thing. Every time I make a grilled cheese sandwich, I never think to do that. I never think to go,
Add bacon to it?
Add bacon, and you'll love it for the rest of your life.
I don't like cheddar cheese and bacon.
My in-laws, my mother-in-law, she'll actually make burgers when Jerry makes
Don't tell me they
burgers.
put bacon in the meat.
No.
No,
That's,
they
that's
put bacon on the
she literally
burger.
cooks bacon for me. So I
That's
can add
actually
it.
genius.
I know.
People get that when they're out, but
I
I
know.
never make bacon when
I
we're
know.
out burgers.
It's pretty genius. Now let's talk about this. Here's our new segment. I could have been a millionaire. I used to work at Walmart retail. I started out as a cashier, moved up to a supervisor in the frontline supervisor. I ended up getting asked to run the unloading of the trucks in the back, inventory supervisor. I did that for a while. Got us through a Christmas season. They were really struggling. Got us through Christmas season.
You got Walmart through Christmas?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
So then they moved me to a department that was failing called the no, it was frozen and ice. It was the frozen and dairy. So I was the frozen dairy manager, and then I left. But
that's why you left, probably.
It was a mess. But I said, I used to get yelled at all the time. I was like, yeah, y'all see what it looked like when I got here. Anyway, but when I was at Walmart, I used to think to myself, this is the dumbest thing in the world. Walmart is dumb that people have to come in here to get groceries. It's dumb that you have to walk all the way to the back to get milk. And I know that they do that so you walk past all these other stuff. I know why they're doing it. I think it's stupid.
There's a reason Walmart's ginormous. It's because they want you to walk
I think
through
it's
everything
stupid
else.
that there's a store. I used to hate it. I'm like, why am I here? There shouldn't even be a store. What they should do is they should have things. I called them runners, where you would literally have a bunch of, the store would look the same, but there would be runners, where your job was to, you get an order in, somebody calls an order in, and you run, and you get the order.
Literally run.
Well, that's what I called them, runners. Pretty cool.
You're talking like kids, like
and then people can literally. But here's where the difference is. I thought it was going to be a drive-through area. We're going to put a window up just like a drive-through. You pull up and say my order was placed. My name is blank. The runner's already got the stuff ready, and then they get handed outside the door to you like McDonald's. That's what my idea was.
Like Chick-fil-A. You need to say Chick-fil-A. McDonald's drive-thrus are okay. Chick-fil-A is a perfect.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, my
all
grandma
of a sudden,
did the same thing.
All of a sudden.
She did. Grandma tried it.
All of a sudden, they come out with click list.
Yeah.
And ruin it all. Now here's another one. For years, and this dates back all the way to the early 90s, I made ice cream shakes with, I literally would do ice cream. I would go to my favorite cereal, Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Captain Crunch or anything, right? Lucky Charms. I would get my favorite cereal. I would dump it into my cereal. I would add, now this is where it is still a little different. I add my favorite pop beverage, my soda beverage.
To your cereal?
No, to my ice cream. To my ice cream. Put it in
That's
there.
the weirdest.
Then you stir it up and you can eat it. And I was like, man, this is genius. All of a sudden, what are these yogurt, froyo places start doing? Adding ingredients. Half of the ingredients are cereal. It sucks.
Cereal is probably the greatest invention on earth. I will argue that.
But I guess I still could do something similar.
You could make up your own. Let me ask you this question.
Soda pop ice cream.
Let me ask you this question. If you were the one to invent ClickList, before ClickList was ClickList, what would you call it?
Runners.
That's it? Runners? That's not very
Walmart runners.
No, my grandma.
We would call them Walmart
my grandma
runners.
would always tell us this. She
Yeah,
was
she
like
did this.
in the 70s or something. She had this great idea of people to shop for other people. How crazy is that? I said, Grandma, you could have been a millionaire.
Wow. Abram really liked that because that was before his thought.
Yeah.
It wasn't before my thought. That's a lie.
You weren't alive in the 70s.
Grandma Joe lied. Neither were you. And she didn't make that up in the 70s.
Grandma Joe did. She does not lie.
Oh, really?
Does Grandma Joe listen to our podcast?
No.
Can we have her call in?
Well, go ahead. Go ahead and call in. You're a liar.
I'll call her. You want me to call
I
her?
came up with that. All of a sudden, she came up with it after they came out with the click list. Oh, real convenient. So that's number 2 of something I could have been a millionaire at. A third one. Here's the third one. I mix my cereals.
Like what?
Like I would take Lucky Charms and Captain Crunch, I put them together and I'd eat a bowl of cereal. I did this my whole life. And then when they started doing this, Kellogg started doing this a couple years ago where they would just mix cereals and I don't know what they
I've
call it.
never seen that, so I don't actually think that this is real. I think you're lying.
Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. I do that with my cereal, so.
Let me ask you this question. How in the world would that make you a millionaire?
Because Kellogg started doing it.
Yeah, but
And
you're not
nobody
Kellogg.
bought those.
You got to produce the
Nobody
cereal
does
first.
that.
I'm just telling you, Kellogg is doing it. Kellogg took 2 of their things. Google it.
I'll Google it.
I almost said that. It's like people may not like that reference.
What?
I don't think
They got a new shirt out.
I know they do.
I probably can't remember. But
It's a great. It really is a great.
we need to start doing shirts, man.
We should have shirts.
Seriously.
Shirts of the month.
And listen, we've already
Or maybe a year.
we've
We
got
might
a
not be able to
couple of submissions for the new logo. They're
Oh,
not
yeah.
looking very good.
No. Horrible.
So please send some better ones. All right. That's where we're at so far. Now, I'm sorry, I got way off of there.
Yeah.
I want to go here first. Giving the devil too much credit. This is something that I've seen my entire life. Devil versus God. Who has more power? Say it again. Why did you say it so softly?
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to have some authority in that one.
Come on.
God!
Yeah, we like to sit there and say, the devil's going to ruin this. The devil's going to take over this. The devil's messing with me. And listen, he does. The devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Right? The devil is the prince of lies. The devil is trying his best to destroy what God is trying to do.
Manipulative.
Through temptation, through other means. Here's the reality, though. We serve God.
Yep.
We serve God who is more powerful. We serve God who the devil shakes in front of. We serve the God that created the heavens and the earth. Why in the world do we give the devil so much credit in our lives? Because here's the other reality. Sometimes God tests us. Sometimes God punishes us. Sometimes God wants us to wake up. Sometimes God allows us to hit rock bottom so we look up. So why do we do this in the American church? Thoughts?
I think because we recognize things as bad if they don't go our way, and sometimes it's the opposite.
I'll give you an example. Today's a great example. Today I prayed for rain.
Why'd you do that?
This is my point. I prayed for rain because I was like, listen, I want to just have a nice rainy day where I can just chill out inside the house.
Wait, hold on. What is there about a nice rainy day?
I love rain.
I hate it. Unless it's thunderstorming, like where you're
great,
scared to be outside. That's the only time rain is good.
Thank y'all for doing this. This is a perfect example. I pray for rain. You pray for sun. Which one does God choose?
Obviously, he chose sun. It's pretty.
I'm saying today is, but why would God? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this is a great example.
Why is your prayers more important than my prayers when it comes to the weather?
Yeah.
Or when it comes to my life? Because here's the thing. When I go and like sometimes I remember this back in high school. I used to pray like, oh, I pray that I don't have a test today. You know what I'm saying?
As if God was going to take away a test.
But here's the other thing. Some people were praying that like, hey, I studied for the test. I'm excited for the test.
I want there to be a pop quiz.
I want there to be a pop quiz. I can answer it. I can prove myself worthy. Whatever the case is. So there's going to be, there's a million things. I can give you a million examples of this where, not everybody's going to get their prayers answered. Now, does that mean when my prayer doesn't get answered that God hates my guts? And no, because at the end of the day, maybe he wants it to be sunny so that somebody can...
or training somewhere else.
Do something. Or maybe God wants it to be sunny so that somebody can have basketball practice and try out for a team or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not my job to sit there and go, well, God, why did you make it sunny when I wanted it to rain? I just need to say, all right, well, obviously God did that for a reason and a purpose, and I need to live with it.
We're a tiny speck in the grand scheme of God's plan, right? We pray for things that are already going to happen, and we think that that's like God blessing us for it. And when something doesn't happen, I think that's where you're going with that.
Yeah, it is.
When something doesn't happen, we blame God for it.
We think that the entire world revolves around us. And the reality is it's not about us. Mm-hmm. It's about God. And God's going to put you in places that may make you feel uncomfortable, may make you feel anxious, may make you feel nervous, may make you feel disappointed. But those aren't to harm us, right? Jeremiah 29:11.
Yeah, he says he won't harm us.
He's not going to harm us, but he's trying to grow us.
And here's the thing. Sometimes we can pray for something that we think we want. Yes. But God knows that we don't need it, or that we don't want it, or that we shouldn't go that way, or we shouldn't go that route.
Great example. And as a kid, I used to pray that certain girlfriends would marry me when I got older.
And now you look at them and you're like, wow.
Yeah, thank you, God, for not letting that prayer get answered. But that's one example of 1,000. Because there's some things where I'm like, praying for one thing to happen or this to happen, or like I'll even give you this. Our last church we were at, I was praying for God to make that work somehow. Yeah. I was miserable, but I was sitting there going, God, make this work. Get this, put this thing in the right order. And it didn't work. And I didn't sit there and go, well, God, I can't believe you didn't let this work. We just said, all right, obviously it was done for a reason. And now looking back, it was obviously done for a wonderful reason.
Very good reason.
Because we were able to come to this church, grow the church, work with a lot of people who are willing to work with us and grow the church. It's an amazing thing.
And here's the thing, when your mindset becomes that, when something happens that maybe you wanted to happen, but it didn't happen, right? Yep. When that happens, if your mindset is that, yep, rather than being like, God did that to punish me or whatever. Yep. If you change your mindset to say God did that because he's got something else planned for me,
correct,
you won't be upset about whatever happened.
Insert election 2020.
Yeah, insert that, yes.
Right? Because instead of you sitting there going, why did this person win the election or that person win the election, all you have to do is say, they won the election for a reason and a purpose. It might be cheating. We don't know yet. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Don't everybody yell at me. But my point is, we have to be able to sit there and go, all right, well, obviously God is doing this for a purpose and a reason. And guess what? We're going to try our best to benefit from it, right? We're going to enjoy our lives. We're going to sit there. Because here's the thing. Since I've been alive, and I've been alive through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 presidents. I may be wrong on that. I don't know. I don't know if I'm right on that. I've had a lot of presidents in my life, is my point. And none of them has come up to me and like said, Abram, what can I do for you? Or Abram, you shouldn't be doing this. Or Abram, like, here's your life. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's walked into my house, a president, and said, like, what are you doing? Can I help you with your life? No.
I think you've only been alive for 4 presidents.
Well, no.
No, George Bush, Bill Clinton, George Bush, Obama.
And now Trump.
Trump, 5.
So you were...
Oh, 6. It'll be 6.
It will be 6.
Today will be 6.
Oh, yeah.
Possible.
Who knows?
Might be still Trump, but I don't know. We'll find out. I heard
it's been 8 elections. You've been through 8 elections.
Yes.
You've been born through 8 elections. Maybe not. Maybe 7.
Well, more than that.
No. Every 4 years.
Yes.
Wait, every 8 years?
You're only 32.
That's what I'm thinking about, because most of the Trump presidents win.
But there's still
that's
elections.
not true. That's not the case. There's no
And
elections.
if you include midterm
I
elections,
see.
we're going to get there real big. I've been doing a lot of elections.
Okay.
And guess what? I didn't start caring about elections till 2008. I didn't start caring about elections until 2008. I didn't even know they existed until 2008.
That was Obama's first term, wasn't it?
Yeah, I didn't know they existed until 2008, okay? I just thought the presidents were just automatically put in there like...
They just had the next 45 presidents lined up.
Yeah, they're all set up and like, this guy gets it in 4 years. But I didn't realize it until 2008 when I had to go and actually vote. I was like, oh wow, these guys actually switch out. And we actually get to choose.
You're actually getting paid to scare you?
My point is, I think it's funny because leading up to 2008, my life really did not depend on the president. I didn't care who was in office. I didn't care who was in office. And you're going to have to talk because I'm going to hold my breath for 10 seconds.
Wait, for how long?
But it's true.
seconds.
No, I understand. I seriously, until I started voting, I didn't realize how important it was and like what the election was.
No,
I agree with that.
I'm not going that way. I'm saying it's
not important. Yeah, it's not important. Yeah, that's what I mean. But
like my life did not depend on the presidency up until 2008.
I just have.
After 2008.
You have to hold your breath.
Well, go ahead. I keep trying to talk because you're messing up what I'm trying to say.
He won't even let me talk.
He's holding his breath now. Go.
No, seriously.
You got 7 seconds. Go. It's done. You lost it. You lost your 10 seconds.
This is why I'm the lead guy here because I got to do all the talking.
Well, I can't concentrate because you guys are being...
You make me sweat. My point is this. It wasn't a big deal in my life until 2008 when I was like, oh wow, there's such a thing as an election. Then I started paying attention to the election and then I started worrying. And then I'm like, so my point is, put your phone down. Ace is a great example. We talked about this in the last podcast, episode 30, if you haven't seen it. But Ace was talking about this because he just dropped out of Facebook.
Oh, did he?
Best time of his life. He doesn't even know what's going on half the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, did you see this? He's like, no, man. Chill.
No, I don't know what you're
Have a
talking
good
about.
time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
My friend Holly's boyfriend, he doesn't have any social media. And at first I was like, that's kind of weird.
I will say it is weird. I see what they're trying to do. It's weird though because what are you hiding?
It is 2020. That is true. That's a good point. Because Ace has still talked about how he still got Instagram.
Yeah, Ace still has social media. He still keeps up with
it. Yeah, he still got social media.
He doesn't. I was like, at first I was like, oh, that's weird. But then I was like, wow, I would save so much time if I didn't have. Any social
yes,
media.
but I also like keeping up with people. Like when I sit there and I go, when I have to meet someone or I have to talk to someone or
you like to look
immediately
them
go to
up.
social
That's
media.
exactly how I
And
am.
if you sit there and you don't have social media, my first thing that pops in my head is something's going on with you. So you're hiding something you don't want me to know about you. And so I get really nervous about meeting you because you don't have social media. So I would appreciate you just put one on there, just give me some information about you, and then you can move on.
But if our Facebooks and social medias ever got to that point where it was like that, if it was that extreme, I would be like, okay, I could get rid of it now. But
well, and it's about to get there.
We've talked about the benefits of social media before.
Well, here's one of the biggest benefits.
Benefits us as a church.
Finding out about pastors.
Ooh.
I'm going to tell you this. Let's get into this real quick because we're only got about 10 minutes. Carl Lentz is a megachurch pastor, celebrity pastor. He was best friends with Justin Bieber until that went astray.
If you don't know by his name, you probably recognize his face.
Yes, for sure. Big guy, Hillsong. Hillsong is a huge thing. They're controversial in some sense of the word. Like they're what? Assembly of God. They're Pentecostal. Charismatic? No, Pentecostal.
You just
Assembly
threw away
of God.
like 4 denominations.
They're an interesting thing, but they are.
Hillsong. However you feel about it, right?
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing. The church. Anyway, they're huge. I mean, they're massive. They're massive. The church is massive. But they just fired Carl Lentz, pastor of Hillsong. Why? Because he cheated on his wife. Now, here's the thing about this. I am so happy that Hillsong did this. I have a little bit more respect for Brian Houston and the leadership of that church, because we talked about this about 5 episodes ago. I can't remember, maybe 5 or 6 episodes ago. We talked about John Gray and how John Gray was had an emotional affair last year. He actually had another affair this year with another lady, but he's still preaching every Sunday. It blows my mind. But he's a celebrity preacher and everybody loves him, and so he's still preaching. And I'm sure Carl Lentz will probably still preach.
Probably.
But the fact that Hillsong sat there and said, look, you cheating on your wife does not uphold to our standards of trust and our standards of moral standards, whatever. I think that says a lot about Hillsong to an extent. My word.
You have to give them props.
Give them a little bit, give them a little bit of props, because they sit there and at least they're recognizing that that was a sin and that's not acceptable. And one of the things that they said in their statement that I really appreciated was Hillsong said, Carl he doesn't need to be in a position to preach. He needs to be preached to.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what we've been saying this entire time. These pastors feel like they are the only ones that, especially Carl Lentz. Carl Lentz preaches in front of thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people. He has tons of books. He gets on radios and stuff. And so if there was anybody that says people need to hear what I have to say, Carl Lentz would probably be up there. But we have pastors that are in small churches that are like, people have to hear me preach on Sunday. Otherwise, who's going to hear the word of God? I don't personally get up there and preach.
And they're preaching to 10 people.
Yeah, they're preaching to. So it's weird that somebody like Carl, who says, they go, listen, even though you have a big influence, because he has a huge influence,
they knew
following.
Yeah, they knew that.
They still sit there and said it's not appropriate to be a preacher right now. That is huge, and I wish that more people would see that.
I think it's big that the church did that, but more importantly, I think it's big that they like you said, they told him that he needs to be preached to. He needs to step down and take a step back and say this.
He needs to be healed. He needs marriage counseling.
But I think that's good, because the reason I think so many people don't like Christianity is because they talk about being hypocrites.
Yeah.
And I think this is Hillsong. They're not being hypocritical. They're saying, hey, like, you did make a mistake, but you need to be preached to. You need to hear the word of God. You need to let that heal you. Let that lead you in the ways that you're supposed to go, instead of him, having a high horse and being so big and just
acting like nothing happened.
I think that's going to show a lot of people that, hey.
Well, and Carl Lentz did a full apology on Instagram. He discussed, he admitted that he did something wrong. He admitted that he has a lot of work to do with his wife. But one of the things he also said was, he was on a path where he felt like he was alone in ministry. And he actually admitted that he did not seek out the help that was there for him. Yeah. And so I think that was also something that's big, that he actually, he saw what he did wrong, he admitted to it, and he doesn't have any hard feelings towards Hillsong for doing what they had to do, which is also great. John Gray, on the other hand, is doing these things, and there is no oversight for him. And he's in the same situation, but there's no oversight. So nobody's sitting there going, John, you need to sit down. The elders of that church are not saying, John, you have to step down. You need to be healed. You need to be sitting there and get marriage counseling. You need to preach it. Nobody's saying that, and I hate that, because we need to be that way in churches. We have to sit there, and the whole Bible says that we have to sit there and bring up people's sins in front of the church, even, and so that we can be better together. We can grow each other in that.
Yeah.
It's not to condemn them, but we want to,
it's to help them.
It's to help them.
And what a testimony it'll be if he goes through this right now. Yeah, it might feel like he's being attacked and all this stuff, but if he goes through this and he realizes, hey, like, I couldn't have gotten through this without God, and he's showing me what I need to do.
And being a celebrity pastor isn't the most important thing in the world.
Exactly. And even celebrity pastors sin.
Yep.
And I think that shows that they're not above anybody.
Yeah. So it was just an interesting thing that I saw.
Just came out today, didn't it?
Just came out, yeah. So An interesting development. But we have to do better in our churches.
Yeah.
We have to. But even with pastors, I hate seeing it because, pastors have to be held to a higher standard. We have to be. So there's that. Number one. That's here's another one. So much stuff going on. My phone's blowing up right now. My phone is blowing up right now. There's a lot of development that's happening that has to be talked about after this. There's a lot going on. All right, let's end it. I want to talk about sabbatical, so we're going to do this for episode 32.
Ooh,
sabbatical
that's
is a
going
big
to be
topic,
like
I'll
a
tell you that.
whole
Might be a whole
episode.
segment. Might be a whole segment.
And
it's important.
can I also announce that we will have a very special guest, episode 35.
Really?
Yes, we will.
Who's that?
Don't know, but we're going to find one.
Oh, wow. Exciting.
Should have said 40.
No, 35. Well,
Oh,
31.
my
That's
goodness.
a couple weeks. We can
All
make it.
right, we'll try to
when
get
will Christmas
somebody.
be? Will Christmas be,
Oh yeah, we won't have one on Christmas.
or probably the week of Thanksgiving? Because that'll be a Thursday, probably.
Yeah. Well,
We'll have to come anyway.
yeah. There might be a couple of weeks that we can skip for holiday purposes, which is okay. We need a break too, people. We can't provide this kind of content
we
to
need
you all the
sabbatical.
time. We need a sabbatical. Yeah. I can't wait to talk about this next week. And we'll try to talk biblical about it, so we won't just come up here and just give our opinions. We'll try to biblically talk about sabbaticals. But all right, listen, we appreciate you. Make sure you find a church to go to, whether it's online or in person. Find a church, attend it, watch it, and be a part of it. Be present in it. Be involved in your community through your church, even if it's online. And continue to watch us and support us so we can continue to bring this great content to you. All right. Preaching young. Preaching young.
Hey guys, what's up? We thank you for listening to our podcast today. If you have any questions, you can email us at preachingyoung, no caps, no spaces, @gmail.com. Hope to see you next time.